There's no reason for that to happen. That's not. We can tackle that. I already did the first two, there's like 10.
So let's check it out. Look. That's check it out.
Hey, I have your my email.
Need headphones.
Okay. This is not everyone.
Yes.
I believe it.
Well, when she's ready to
Just wait, Daniel.
I do this because I also like.
All right, so we're good to go, Jeff? Okay, so I will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. We'll start off our meeting with a moment of silence. And if we will all stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. City Clerk Domingo, can you take roll call for us, please?
Councilmember Clark. Here. Reed. Here. Jackson.
Here.
Lawler.
Here.
Lanu.
Here.
Williamson. Here. And Mayor Snyder.
Here. I make a motion to approve of our agenda with an addition of information that you have before you in a memo in regards to purchasing mowers that needs to be decided on this evening. Do I have a motion to approve? Support? Support. Any discussion on that? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Clark. Yes. Reed.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lawler.
Yes.
Lanu.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So we'll start off this evening with presentations and recognitions. We'll start off with information.
If you may, we have all of our new officers.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Prior to.
So Chief Kip is with us this evening with our new officers, so that we can be introduced to them all. And then they're not just,
I thought they were following.
don't be shy, come on out.
So we've hired quite a few people in the last year. I'll start kind of backwards. Nate Clark is our new code enforcement officer. Step forward so they know who you are. Nate's been with us, and I can't stand, if I stand closer to you, it might flip on you, but Nate's been with us as a reserve officer since just over a year now. And then he started in May as our new code enforcement officer. He's from Battle Creek originally, and he's attending KCC, working on his education. Aaron Reynolds down on the end. Aaron is originally from Englewood, Indiana. He attended Northern Michigan University as his bachelor's degree from there. He was an officer in Williamston and also at Capital City Airport, where he became a firefighter before he came to work for us back in October of last year. And then Zach Benke, he also started in October last year. He's from Battle Creek, and he also has his bachelor's degree from Olivet College and just graduated from the Fire Academy recently. Tommy DePonio. Get him all right here. He's originally from Leland, Michigan. He has an associate's degree from Jackson College. He is attending Siena Heights College right now, working on his bachelor's degree. He's a former EMT with Jackson Community Ambulance and also a firefighter with Summit Township. And we sent him to the police academy. He graduated from Washington Community College Police Academy back in December. Scott Austin is a former Calhoun County Sheriff's Deputy. He worked for the Sheriff's Department for 20 years. He's originally from Battle Creek, has an associate's degree from KCC, and he's older than me. He's the oldest guy in the department, so I'm sure everybody knows that. Jesse Deryl is from Bellevue. Prior to coming here, she was the village manager in Bellevue. She went to Olivet College and has her bachelor's degree from Olivet College. And
What's Jesse's role?
she's a public safety officer.
Oh.
She just doesn't know how to wear a uniform yet. Jesse and Scott also just graduated from the fire academy as well, so they're two new firefighters. And then Jan Tabe Quispe, got that right. JT, as we call him. He has his master's degree from Michigan State University. He was an officer in Coldwater and Walled Lake prior to coming to Albion Public Safety. And he just, or he grew up in East Lansing, but he also lived in Germany for a while. Scott also lived in Germany for a while. Yeah, that's about it. So. They're still in the process of hiring 3 more. I have 2 women, one from that lives here in Albion and one that just graduated from Albion College. They're getting ready to probably attend the Lansing Police Academy starting in August. And we're still in the process of hiring the 3rd person. So. We can do it now. But, they're a great bunch of officers, like I told you last week. We've got some experience and some very young officers, but I'm excited to have them all. They enjoy working here, and it's a pleasure to come and work with them every day.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Yes, we appreciate you all being here this evening with us so that we can learn your names along with your faces. You know, we see you out and about, and then they're like, I have no idea who that is. So this is good.
I'm just impressed I remember all their names tonight, so.
You have a notepad in front of you.
Right, I was gonna try to do it without one, but I was like, yeah, there's no way.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. Do we have any comments or from our council, from our officers? Yes.
I am excited to see more officers come to Albion. And I hope this is just a great start and a great journey as long as you're here with us. One thing that I always say to the officers when they bring my packet is to make sure that you go home to your families. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So I just say that to say welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, it's been a struggle to find officers, and it's not just here. Every department is having these issues right now. The job market is very open for law enforcement right now, and I think we've been really lucky to recruit some of the people that we have. As I said, most of these officers all have their bachelor's degree or are working on a bachelor's degree, and that's not something Albion has had in the past because we just didn't have the money to pay people to get to that level of education. It's nice to be able to recruit some of these young men and women who already have degrees prior to coming here.
Awesome. Great. And I'm happy to see some OC and JC folks here. Since I used to work at both, and I still work at JC, so. Awesome.
All right, thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, and so do we have Brandan Maurer here?
Yes, please join us.
Oh, okay, awesome. Hi, Brandan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep, so the floor is yours, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. I want to just start by thanking everyone for allowing MDOT and us to come and present again. So I think undoubtedly most everyone knows what we're presenting on. I did send out last week to the city, to Haley Snyder, the presentation that I'll be going over here shortly, and several of the plan sheets that kind of depict block per block or, a little bit closer on what some of these pavement markings are options we're looking at. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen here. It looks like it may have been disabled. Is that something we can?
I just tried to fix it, Brandon. Try it again.
Okay. All right. Looks like I should be able to do it now. So. All right. Is everyone able to see my screen?
We are.
Okay. All right. So we'll just start off here. This probably looks very familiar. This is largely, kind of the same format that was used the last time around. I apologize. I was not able to present that or be a part of that. My wife and I welcomed a new baby girl, and I was off for a period of time. So we'll just start out. What we're looking at here is M99 Michigan Avenue between Superior Street and Clark Street is the large part, kind of where we're at. Right now, everyone is kind of aware it just has 2 yellow stripes right down the center, and it's got a lot of space, and it's not really clearly delineated. So that's something that was brought to our attention a fair amount of time ago, probably a year or maybe a little bit more, and we've been kind of working through and collecting feedback all along the way to try to figure out what can we do with this corridor to really maximize the efficiency and safety out there.
And then we don't see the illustration.
I'm sorry?
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay. All right. So, yep. So that's here's the location again. It took a little bit to switch there. And feel free, if at any point it bogs down or there's any issues, please interrupt me. Let me know. We'll work through it. All right. So, this is really, it's kind of the same. It's a online program we can use to kind of create some visually pleasing and not just a plan sheets with plain black lines drawn on it to showcase really kind of what it operates out there as right now. You've got 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction, a lot of space, but really there's not the traffic volume out there to need that much. So what we've done is we've come up with, after working with the city, listening to some feedback from the residents after the last go around, and talking a little bit to the college, we really want to make sure this is an all-inclusive environment where we're trying to listen to everybody. So that's the first go around. We look at it that as a success because we did get a lot of feedback. We tried to understand what are the bits and pieces that everyone's looking for out here. So by no means are these 3, or I guess if you look at it, 5 options all inclusive. There's an infinite number of possibilities, that's for sure. These are just the ones that we kind of looked at and said, all right, based on what we've heard, these are probably going to be the most likely and available options that we can implement in a short term. So the first one, and in no way, shape, or form are these listed in order of preference. These are just how they kind of felt. The first one is what everyone's already seen. That's the 3 lanes with bike lanes and no parking. So the second option would be 3 lanes with parking on one side and buffer on the other. So this would not allow really any room for any bike lanes. So we would end up with a small buffer space and then parking on either the north side, which when you look at it, that would equate to about 54 parking spaces, or parking on the south side, which would give us about 61. There may be some additional opportunities on the south side if driveway closures can be negotiated, but that's something that we can cross that bridge if we get there. The third option would again be a kind of a part A, part B, depending upon which side parking would be chosen. And we're looking at, this one would include bike lanes with it. So you'd have 1 lane each direction, bike lanes, and then parking on one side or the other. Talking to some other folks, there has been some interest in looking at, what if we don't have any bike lanes? So another option that we haven't had as much feedback on, but it's something that is definitely out there, is the option if you looked at parking on both sides and then 1 lane in each direction. From what we've heard from other stakeholders, there's really kind of been that desire to have either a center left turn lane or the bike lanes, but I just wanted to put that one out there too as an option for consideration. So just to kind of depict this a little bit more, and this I won't go through and describe every little thing, but this is option number 1 that everyone's already seen. So this is the 3 lanes with the bike lanes, and it might be a little bit small on the screen, but we're looking at 12-foot lanes everywhere and 6-foot bike lanes. Option number 2A, so north would be to the left as you're looking at the screen and south to the right. Again, 3 lanes, you'll have a 4-foot buffer space, which is really not wide enough to dictate it as any kind of shared use or bike lane path. So that's where it'll just be marked off with pavement markings as a no-go zone in order to not have what would appear to be a 16-foot lane where people may try to do some really interesting, we'll call it, maneuvers. So this one would have the parking lane at 8 feet wide, 3 12-foot drive lanes, and a 4-foot buffer. Option number 2B would be just kind of the mirror image of this. You'd have the parking on the south, everything else would be the same. Again, option number 3A, you'd have parking again on the north, but then 1 lane each direction, and you'd have a bike lane on either side with a buffer, a 2-foot buffer to kind of use up the available space between the bike lane on the south and the motoring public. Option number 3B would again be the mirror image of number 3A. Your parking will just be on the south side this go around. So just as a reminder, I think this was presented last time, there's not a lot of crashes, but there are crashes over a 5-year period. There was approximately 33, with several of them being rear end, the highest, angle, side swipe, pedestrian, and then other crash types. So, there's definitely statistics or something that engineers love to have. And with some of these improvements, we could potentially look at a crash reduction of up to 47%. That's not always a given. You're not always going to see that, but there are definitely benefits to each of these options. So this is a graph here that kind of illustrates of these 3 options, and we just broke it down into the primary 3, what we would be looking at for each one. So as you can see, the first one of the drawbacks of it doesn't provide parking. So there's no availability for anybody to park along the street there. In other terms, it has the opportunity to improve mobility, reduce speeding by removing one of those lanes, kind of necking it down, increasing safety for both motorists and pedestrians, cyclists, and it improves the emergency response, which is something that we've heard from several stakeholders that there's interest in that. We're having that open, most of the time center left turn lane allows a really unimpeded opportunity for a lot of these, your emergency responders to get down through there in a pretty quick fashion. The 3 lanes with parking, again, then we're looking at, you do get parking, but then you lose the cyclist safety. It no longer has those separated bike lanes. Cyclists at that point would then have to either ride with traffic in the lane, or if they're allowed to use a sidewalk. The third option is the one where you kind of lose a little bit. Going down to 1 lane each direction, it can be argued you're not really improving mobility. We have run the models. There is no major concerns. The traffic volumes out here would support a 2-lane cross section with 1 lane in each direction. And the other option that once you take it down to 1 lane each direction, you're really not improving any kind of emergency response availability. So just wanted to pull that up and kind of give a little bit of how these things compare side by side. There are certainly way more considerations. These are just some of them that as MDOT, what we kind of look at to make sure that it's checking the boxes in the appropriate areas. So what we're kind of really looking for at this point is we have these 5 options that we presented. We've given the plan sheets, you have the presentation. So what we're asking is, we don't want to come in and tell you what we're going to do. We'd like to hear what you want to do. So what we're proposing is that the city, and we're not asking for it today, but sometime in the future, the council, please meet, work with your constituents. However you want to gather feedback. Once you have the appropriate feedback, please let us know which option you'd like to pursue. Now, it could be one of these 5, ideally. I think we've done a fair amount of work leading up to this point. But if it's not one of these 5, let us know. We can certainly try to go back to the drawing board and continue this process. If it's something that we would like to get done sooner rather than later, we have these things. And once we get the assigned resolution in support of one of the options, we can move forward pretty quickly. The only thing I will say is that on our side, once we have a signed resolution, I will then have to attend a meeting with our MDOT upper level management to present this and let them know what we're doing and what the plan is. The second part of that is we will also need to have a signed agreement between MDOT and the city of Albion that clearly dictates that the maintenance of the parking lanes, if they are chosen, is a 100% responsibility of the city. So MDOT doesn't paint pavement markings for parking lanes. That would be the responsibility of the city of Albion. Now, if we do go down that path where we have parking, we need an agreement, we can also share a little bit more in terms of what the design for pavement markings can look like. We have 3 different options varying upon what people would like to see out there. It will not change the number of parking spaces. It's just kind of what it looks like. So that's something to consider as well, that there will be a financial piece with any kind of parking that is selected. So that's really kind of what we've brought to the table at this point. We're putting it in the council's hands to please work with everyone that all your constituents, and then come back to us at a later date whenever it's deemed necessary and let us know which option would be the best for your community, because that's ultimately what everybody wants, is something that works for as many people as possible. Kind of in closing here, I've included my contact information on here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask them. I will certainly do my best to answer them and take them into consideration on any designs that we have moving forward. So with that, that's what I had at this point. The plan sheets, I will not bore everybody by going through block by block and showing exactly where the pavement markings will align. I would say, though, that they are free to share. If anyone wants them, please share either electronically, hard copy, however you would like. They are not a secret, and I'd like to have as much feedback as possible on this. So thank you. And I guess at this point, we can open up for any questions, comments, or concerns.
Any council questions? Yes, Councilman Maurer.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. So, is it possible, to do, like, no parking on the street between like a 6 a.m. and a 5 p.m.? I'm just trying to see if I can, visualize some accommodations for people's families when they come to town. And also try to, think about the students that cross the busy street on Michigan Ave. So it's just my thought is maybe it's a little off, but I was just thinking that maybe we could say something like no parking between 6 a.m. and 5 when the young men and women are crossing, trying to get to the school or wherever it is that they have to go between these hours. So that was one of my thoughts. And another thought was, are we able to just put, I know there's some people on the street that really don't want parking at all in front of their place or on that street, period. But are we able to put like between Berrien Street and Burr Oak, can you put X's right there so it won't be any parking between there? Are we able to do that?
So that's certainly something. So in terms of the time frames, that would be dictated by the city. That's MDOT's not an enforcement agency. We simply just work with the roads and the kind of the structures of them and getting it out there. So when you have parking dedicated, I don't think you'd be able to have it open as a lane for a period of time and then back to parking. That would become really too confusing for motorists, and it would be a little bit of a nightmare with pavement marking. So it'd either be always parking marked that way or always a lane. Now, if you do want to put timeframes in there, which parking is allowed, that's entirely up to the city and the local law enforcement. If that's something that you'd like to enforce and work on, that is your decision. That kind of comes along with the parking itself being the responsibility of the local agency. In terms of parking in specific blocks or not, that is also something that we can certainly work with. If there's areas that you wish to have no parking, we can certainly accommodate that. Again, that may require additional pavement markings, which would be additional maintenance costs. But the biggest thing that we wanted to try to avoid is having a scenario. So if you look at it right now, how it's designed and how it should be marked, there should be about a 2-block area right around Ingham Street that is 4 lanes. And then everything else is 1 lane each direction with parking in different areas on either side, which has really led to a lot of the confusion. And that's what we're trying to get away from more and more. We want a very consistent corridor through there. So there's not a lot of opportunities for merging and weaving, which really present a lot of conflict points. But when it comes down to it and how each parking space is utilized, from MDOT's perspective, from my perspective, whatever you guys want to do, we'll support it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilwoman Livingston.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate this. I really appreciate the benefits comparison of the different reconfiguration options. You mentioned that there is an additional option, which I have been asked to speak about, which is 1 driving lane and parking on both sides. And I was wondering if it's possible for you to do the comparison for that, so that when we're evaluating our options, that's one where we could see all of the different improvements that are possible just from MDOT's expertise. I think that would be really helpful in terms of making those comparisons. What I was told is that the 1 driving lane and parking on both sides is what the small business in this area wants, and he has 450 signatures. So I think there is a lot of desire to see that, and just to be able to evaluate these consistently, that would really help.
Absolutely. Yes, we can certainly produce that and share that with the city at least sometime this week. That shouldn't take too long to present. I know I spoke to an individual actually earlier today about that same proposal. And if that's something that would be of interest and the council would like us to really consider, we can try to move forward and develop some plans. That will take a little bit longer, but the comparison is certainly something that can be turned around in a matter of a couple of days.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that this is a complex issue, so I think that having the time to bring people together to address this in the same room will really help. And it just helps to have all the options in front of us. I'm curious when it says improved mobility. I mean, to me, all of these matters are related to mobility. There's the drivers, there's the pedestrians. So I'm just curious if there's a specific thing when it says improved mobility that you could speak to, because I see the 3rd option doesn't have that, where there's 2 lanes with parking and bike lanes. It says the improved mobility is removed. So I'm just curious if you know what that would be.
Yes, absolutely. So when we talk about mobility, certainly there's many different modes of traffic out there. And we still live in a world, though, where the primary one is the vehicular traffic. So when you're looking at mobility as a whole, you're kind of analyzing the delay that a standard user could experience while traveling from point A to point B on the corridor. So that's when you look at these options. The improved mobility that comes with the 3 lanes is because of that center left turn lane, the addition of that. What you're presenting is an opportunity where anybody trying to make a left-hand turn, and this is a unique corridor such that you have a fair number of driveways and other intersections, that there could be a number of trips occurring. So an intersection, it depends on how many people are utilizing that on a daily basis, but each driveway, you can probably say at least 2 to 4 trips per day per driveway is something that we would encounter. So that center left turn lane gets those people out of the through traffic and allows through traffic to continue at a continuous pace. And that's where we see that mobility increase. Whereas with a 4-lane section, if you're driving in that center lane or the one of the 2 center lanes, either eastbound or westbound, and someone is trying to make a left-hand turn in front of you, you're going to have to stop and make a maneuver to either get around or wait for them to complete their turn. So that's the mobility that we've been really looking at. The addition of that, when you do have the bike lanes, that's going to improve mobility for the bicyclists as well. A lot of times I use the sidewalk, but riding into the traffic lane as well is something that some people are comfortable with it. Others, like myself, I certainly wouldn't jump in with 35-mile-an-hour traffic and hope for the best. But there are some cyclists that they have, per the law, a cyclist has every right to be within the lane that a vehicle does. So when you add those bike lanes, it kind of removes them, and they're a little bit more out of harm's way. they're still able to utilize the roadway, and it improves mobility for them as well, because they're not having to watch motor vehicle traffic quite as much, with the exception of that intersection where they have to obey every law that the vehicles do as well. So the 2-lane option is really where you can't say that that's going to improve mobility. Now, will it reduce mobility? Not significantly, because there's simply not the traffic volumes out here to justify that. But the 2 lanes, at the end of the day, you're taking it from 4 lanes down to 2. So inherently, there will be some reduction in mobility, specifically during higher traffic volume times. So your peak times, and with Albion College, you could see some additional backups on move in or move out days with the parents bringing in their students.
That's helpful. I'm curious in terms of the data that you have regarding the traffic volume. Do you have data specifically on bicyclist traffic on this roadway?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Have data, does MDOT have data regarding the number of bicyclists that use this roadway?
No, we don't. We don't have any data on that. We would have to complete a separate count for that to see how many bicyclists are actually using it. That's something that's kind of hard to collect too. I don't always like the analogy, if you build it, they will come. That sometimes that's something where you don't necessarily see the volumes that are predicted, but then it does when you present some of those new facilities, you may see an increase in the number of cyclists. But offhand, we don't typically collect it just in general traffic counts, bicyclist data. If it's something that we need to consider and look at the addition of the facilities, we can certainly request that. Of course, our planning folks would have to plan that out. And up until recently, it was a little hard to get out because of collecting traffic counts over the past year was not necessarily accurate data based on how everyone was impacted by the pandemic.
Thank you. My last question is just about signage in this same vicinity. It seems like there's a need for some basic parking signage with regard to where the cars should go up to the end of the roadway. Is that something that MDOT does in terms of no parking, or is that the city?
Yes, that would be MDOT. We would take a look at that. So depending upon which option is selected, we would have to work through revising the TCO, which is a traffic control order that dictates where parking is not allowed. And then we would put up signage accordingly. And it would say, and I think there is some out there, but it's, with signs and all of our assets, over time, things happen, they get hit, they fade. So there definitely we would be looking at that. And that would be something we would do with this. There'd be a coordinated effort between the pavement markings and a TWA, which is a transportation work authorization, utilizing some additional maintenance funds to get those signs updated per whichever option is selected.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council? No? Brandon, this is great information. It's a great starting point in regards to options that we have as a city. I think if we can get that final diagram of what it may look like from Councilman Lanew's standpoint, if we can get that way we'll have every option available to us, and then we can proceed as a city. So thank you for your.
Yes, thank you. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to present this. And like I said, if any questions arise, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks. All right, so this past Saturday was our designated Juneteenth celebration here in the community. Unfortunately, the rain decided to put an unfortunate alternate. Yes, Councilwoman.
Can I say something when you say finish?
Okay. And so we did have a proclamation prepared for the event, and so I'm going to go ahead and still read this proclamation. Our Juneteenth Proclamation, whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring the slaves in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America, And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. And whereas Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating the ending of slavery in the United States, and whereas word about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation took some 2.5 years in reaching authorities and African Americans across our country until June 19, 1865, when Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, landed at Galveston, Texas, with news that the war had ended and that the enslaved were now free. And whereas in 2005, the state of Michigan proclaimed the third Saturday in June as Juneteenth National Freedom Day in Michigan, thereby designating Juneteenth as a state holiday. And whereas the annual observance of Juneteenth is critical to developing a deeper understanding of the significance of the abolition of slavery, and whereas this year, the annual Juneteenth celebration in the city of Albion were to take place on June 19th, 2021. Now therefore, I, Victoria Snyder, Mayor of the City of Albion, do hereby declare June 19, 2021 as Juneteenth in the city of Albion, Michigan, and urge all citizens to become more aware of the significance of the celebration and African American history and in the heritage of our nation and city. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Albion, Michigan to be affixed this 19th day of June, 2021. It was also, of course, right before June 19th, that this also has become a federal holiday. So another great day in our history. So Councilwoman Reed.
I just wanted people to know why we canceled, you probably do. We were out there at 6 o'clock in the morning and we had fixed all of the freedom fighters' pictures all up and down the walkway where we usually come in, and it started to rain. And it kept raining and it kept raining, then it broke, then it started again. And the people who were handling the electrical part of Juneteenth, where we have the music with the walk the beat and the rest of them, thought that it was better to cancel because they weren't going to hook up the electricity out there. The electricity is not yet put to the pavilion, so it had to be run from the bathrooms over, which would have meant cords coming across the park. In case someone happened to sit on it or something and step on it and get electrocuted, that would have been a problem. And so we thought better to cancel it until this Saturday, and hopefully no rain this Saturday. And we're not going to have the parade. We're just going to start at the park at 12 o'clock and go through the day, and we'll still have the lineup like we had before of music through the day. The health department will be there doing golden shots and things, and just like it was set up before, it'll be again for this Saturday. So come out and join us.
Yes, Councilman Clark.
Since it was a federal holiday, did you guys recognize it or give 10 people time off, or how is the city recognizing it?
We did not. With it just being adopted prior, like the day before, we had that discussion, and I just assumed that it would go into effect next year, because council, you do adopt the days that we do close for holidays, and that one was not included on the list. So moving forward, we will observe Juneteenth as a paid holiday.
Great. All right. All right, so our next recognition this past Saturday, I also had the distinct privilege to be a part of an Eagle Scout ceremony. It was the first that I've ever attended, and it truly was inspirational to hear what this young man had to go through to become an Eagle Scout. This young man is a citizen of Albion, so I had a great privilege to be there to be a part of this ceremony. So this proclamation is recognizing Eagle Scout Teddy Krawcaynski. Whereas the vision of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare youth in America to become responsible, participating citizens and leaders who are guided by the Scout oath and law. And whereas Teddy Deryl Krawcaynski, an honors student at Concord High School, plans on attending Albion College in the fall and is a member of the Scouts BSA Troop 158. And has completed the requirements and received the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout on August 25th, 2020, the highest rank in the Scouts BSA, part of the Boy Scouts of America. And whereas Teddy started his scouting career on March 3rd, 2014, and earned his Arrow of Light before crossing over from Cub Scouts into Scouts BSA, where he served in several key scouting leadership roles, including Assistant Senior Patrol Leader and Senior Patrol Leader. And whereas Teddy earned 27 merit badges, 6 more than required to achieve Eagle ranking, making him eligible to receive his Bronze Palm Award. And whereas Teddy's Eagle project included assembly and installation of the pavilion for the Albion Community Gardens Jefferson Street location. And whereas Teddy is well respected by his teachers, scout leaders, and peers, and serves as a reminder that a man's true character is not judged by how much you are liked, but by how much you are respected by others. And whereas the Eagle Scout Award is a distinction that will follow him throughout life and will be a beacon to others of the leadership quality and commitment this young man has shown. Now, therefore, I, Victoria Snyder, Mayor of Albion, do hereby congratulate and recognize Teddy Deryl Krawcaynski in his achievement of the rank of Eagle Scout. We are proud to have him as a member of our community. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the official seal of Albion, Michigan. Okay. Next, we have Jill Hinde here, who will be giving us a presentation and update from the YMCA.
Is this right?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having us. I brought Terry's section with me. So we're about 3 months into, almost 4 months into our contract with the city, our service agreement. We started programming in March. We started with fitness classes because obviously, as we all know, it's been a much different world with COVID. So we did what we could start with. And as of tomorrow, the emergency orders are lifted, so we will be able to start youth programming and youth sports programming. So we're excited about that. So I'm going to introduce the team to you, and they can kind of tell you a little bit about what they do. Like I said, we started with fitness classes. We've had 900 visits. There's some duplication in people, but we've had 900 visits to fitness classes since they started. We run 8 classes a week. We're starting swim lessons later this summer, and then what you see behind me is the youth contingent, and they are going to be starting youth programming with the summer camp at Holland Park. We're partnering with Difference Makers at Washington Gardner, and we're also partnering with Kids at Hope for some summer programs. And then it's our goal to take it out into the community, into McIntosh Park, Victory Park, kind of further out. So we've split the rec coordinator position. Zane Newton, some of you know Zane from running the fitness classes, and she's going to do the wellness and the fitness component for us. And then Wanda Kemp is going to come in, and Wanda's an Albion native and is going to do the youth portion of the work. And then I'm going to let them all stand up and introduce themselves. And I think we're missing 2. I know Tiara Brown, who used to work with Recreation, is now going to work for the Y. And there's a young man who's not here.
Shabbat Johnson.
Okay.
And Barbara.
Okay. And then do you just want to say your name real quick?
Ataya Artist. Malia Frost. Aria Orr. Zariah Kim.
So we're excited to be able to create jobs for our local youth, and they will be supervising open gym, which will start at Washington Gardner, and then they'll be staffing the camps. And then in addition, I think difference makers, we're going to bring them over to the Y in Battle Creek. And then I think Shane passed out the packet of information. We are working to create an Albion website that will kind of help us communicate to Albion residents what's happening with rec. So, any questions that you have?
You mentioned camps. Could you speak a little bit more about what the camps would have?
Yeah, the one, did you have this? So we're starting with Holland Park, and that, do you have it? Okay. So we're starting with Holland Park, and that will be middle school and high school kids. And then this past year, last summer when we did camp for the younger kids, the COVID restrictions were, licensing regulations were lifted. They are no longer lifted in Michigan, so it's a little more stringent about what sites we can use for younger kids. It's our intention to have camp either at the Methodist Church or at Crowell School. It'll depend on where we get licensing for Great Start Readiness Program.
So it's more strict this summer?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they waived pretty much all of the licensing requirements last year, but those have been reinstated for 2021.
So you said Methodist Church or where?
Crowell School.
What age groups?
This Holland Park will be split into two groups, and there'll be a middle school group and a high school group. For either Crowell or the Methodist Church, it will be 5 to 10 years old. So it'll be the younger age group. And we'll split that again into two classrooms. Excuse me, so there'll be a younger classroom and an older classroom.
And
Does it have hours and things on here?
It will, we're gonna send that information out so that people know.
Okay. Thank you. So will there be any t-ball, basketball, baseball?
Well, right now, I think Playwright is running t-ball. We are working to do some of that youth programming, and once this team gets together,
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking on that, because the one thing that, I'm sorry.
And one day, if you want to take off your mask so that everybody else that is listening and Zoom.
That'll probably work
Yeah.
because my voice doesn't carry too well anyway. So, the one goal that we have is if there's already a particular sport here, we don't want to be creating the same sports so that we're competing for youth, but we want to be able to provide pretty much like what Brandan said. We want to be able to create new things and something for everyone. So where it's what the youth want to see. So this is new, they're creating it. So it's not, we want you to join this, we want you to join this, this is what do you want to see. So, and that's what I'm excited about is brand new canvas, they get to build this. Tell us what it is that you want, because they're going to be more active when it's something they want to do instead of you saying, we want you to sign up and join this. So our goal is to find out the programs the youth want, and we want to give that to them.
So right now, we just have t-ball, like Joe said, through Playwright. So what other sports are you kind of envisioning?
We have discussed pickleball as one.
For the little kids or?
Both. So we've talked about basketball, volleyball, pickleball, tennis, I think would be the sports that we're targeting to start.
So how are we ensuring like quality of programming? Because some of this can almost look a little bit like it's just a place to go for 2 hours and there's some fun activities, but when it comes to recreation, there's sports and there's learning and how to be a good team member and that development of how to play a sport and participate. If you remember, we had some pretty robust programs a long time ago around that in Albion. So are we gonna try to have that happen again through what you guys are doing? Like, when you're saying basketball, swim lessons,
right? All of those things. I'm just kind of wondering that we don't turn into, one of my criticisms of recreation in the past has been sometimes it feels like it's babysitting. Right. You go to open gym, you play with your friends, and that's fun, and that has a place in a recreation program. But as a parent, as community members, what are we going to do for those parents and those families seeking that team experience, that traditional rec
kind of learning experience and then, the evening games and things like that.
Right, well, I think it's twofold. So number one, I think WISE nationally have a character development, they have a youth development, healthy living platform. So we run that programming in Battle Creek. So that is the character development piece that you're talking about, in addition to fitness, sports, fun, right? So those two things are knitted together in these programs. Number two, I think, Councilperson Mallard brought it up, there will be rec leagues, and they just have to get built. And because of COVID and testing for kids' sports, we're now just starting that process. And what we want to do before we build those is to take feedback from parents and kids about what they want to see. So there will be not just open gym, but sports leagues, camps, clinics, specific development activities.
I have a 7-year-old granddaughter that's going to be with me for 4 weeks.
Okay.
Who loves to get into things and rip and run and play. And so that's why I was wondering, what was going to be done so I could get her signed up.
Yeah, we'll have a camp at one of those two sites for a 7-year-old. And then it's also our intention to do some fun one-off activities. We want to keep the traditions like the daddy-daughter dance. We were going to do that in either, April or it was June. We moved it to September because of capacity limits. We did the Easter egg hunt in March or April. So again, we want to build in some family-focused activities as well.
And just to add to that, we have had rec here, and there are some things that worked and worked well. So we can still do those things, we will, but there were a lot of things that didn't. So we want to add new to some of that, what was traditional, because it didn't work then. So you can't keep doing the same thing, expecting better results. So kind of like intertwining some of what we had with something new as well.
So the information that you passed out to us, for the teen funds, that's the Fridays that are listed, correct?
There's a Friday fun, and then there will be a camp that is enrolling that starts on the 6th of July, and that will be Monday through Thursday.
And that's for the 5 to 10-year-olds?
That's for the middle school and high school kids.
Enrolling up to July?
It'll be a rolling, yes, the camp will start that week of July 6th, but you can continue to come regardless.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry, because it wasn't on the other sheet, what, Monday through Thursday?
Monday through Thursday, from 1 to 3. And then on Fridays, there'll be the activity day.
Can I see somebody else's hand up for those copies? Councilman Clark?
I was just wondering, I know the city had voted on when, Mayor Etchison was here about, improving Deputy Park and the, baseball fields and things like that, as well as the tennis courts. So where are we with that?
We're waiting to receive an updated quote from the contractor, because the quote that we received, prices have obviously increased since that, and we're just waiting to receive that back from them to move forward with getting those improvements done.
So we're bringing a contractor in just to dig up the field for the baseball courts?
No, this is for the basketball and tennis courts.
Okay, so what are we gonna do with those?
The basketball and tennis courts?
No, the baseball courts.
Right now, there has not been any plan to do anything with those. I know we have put a lot of work into Ketchum Field to get that updated for play rights, T-ball, but the 2 Victory Park fields, we have not discussed anything with that. Right now, the Parks and Recreation Survey is live, so we are asking for feedback on all of those spaces, and then we will evaluate the data from that and set a plan for our master plan.
Yeah, since T-ball is the only organized sport that we have right now, they have done a lot of work out at Ketchum, so that's ready to use for the T-ball teams. Yes, Councilman Leonard.
Thank you. Is T-ball, was it Tuesday through Thursday, starting at 6 o'clock? Is that the time that it is?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think so.
It was 2 nights a week. Tuesday, I believe it was Tuesday, Wednesday, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't know how long that runs.
I believe it's through the month of June.
Okay.
Well, the last time I talked to Mr. Barnes, I think they were gonna go through July now with kind of like competition between like our team and then the local teams that they have for T-ball. So yeah, I think he was extending that.
And then just to confirm the dates for these camps, so we have something from 5 to 10-year-olds, Monday through Thursday, 1 to 3, is that the consistent?
The 5 to 10 will be a longer day. I just have to
Okay.
figure out what site I'm gonna use, and then it'll be the availability.
Okay, okay, so then we have ages 12 to 17.
Yes, and that'll be
that's
1 to 3.
enrolling now.
Correct.
Starting July 6th through,
Usually, last year we ran it through mid-August. I don't know when school starts again, but we would try to coincide with that.
and that's at Howland Park.
Correct.
Okay,
And then the rain site will be Washington Garden.
okay, thank you.
And then Meet Up and Eat Up is going to be in Highland Park like last summer, and they're also going to be at Washington Garden. So they'll have 2 sites.
That starts July 1st?
Mm-hmm. The Meet Up Eat Up starts on July 1st at Washington Garden. I don't know the day that they started Holland Park yet.
I don't know that day.
Yeah, so we need to get those days. And then also we need to make the city aware of how they are preparing food this year. Because due to COVID, in some areas, they are only giving them frozen food. So we need to, I can get that from Jeremy. So frozen food is given to them and they have to take it and heat it up. So.
But we're currently discussing with them the options to provide provide hot meals to Albion students. So.
Is this the Marshall Public Schools or who?
It's Marshall Public Schools.
Yeah, I need more information on that, because we need to make sure everyone knows what they're up against when they do that.
We also have to say, the chief tip has got ping pong tables, and I've got the paddles and things, I'll get them to you.
Okay.
And the kids can learn how to play ping pong.
That'd be awesome, because difference makers can use those as well.
Yes, we can use those.
All right, any other questions or comments for Ms. Hinde? Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for coming in.
Yes.
Glad to see you here. I'm glad you guys taking the reins for our community. All right, Jesse, do we have anybody on for public comment? Jesse, your chief tip, whoever's running.
Harry Ott, you're up.
Okay, thank you. My name's Terry Ott. I'm the owner of Marino's Beauty Shop down the road. I'm sure most people have already heard of me by this point. I've talked to Brandan today for about an hour on the phone, so he's kind of familiar with my stand. Can you hear me okay?
Could you state your address, please?
Oh, sorry. 1009 East Michigan Ave.
You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We discussed this parking issue, and as far as, like I explained to him, I have measured the road. We have talked about it. What everybody here wants to see that lives along this road, and all the people that we have talked to that have come into my shop, which Linda Lanu said that there was 450 signatures, which there is. They all want the exact same thing. They want one driving lane each way, which stops the swerving, keeps everybody safer. But they also see the need for the parking lane on each side of the street, which, because people that have houses along here need that parking for their house, for family members and things to visit. Some people have handicapped children. They have to have parking for doctors and nurses to come visit the home. There's ample room for parking. And if there even wants to be a bike lane in between, that's fine. As it was said by him, though, he wouldn't want to be out there riding a bike next to semis and everything either. So, but he also made the statement that if the bicycles were allowed on the sidewalk, that would solve that whole problem. Now, the problem that he brings up with this buffer lane, so that it seems to keep people away from the pedestrians on the sidewalk, there's already a 16-foot terrace out there, and I have never heard of yet of a car deciding to jump that terrace and start running over people on the sidewalk. So a buffer lane to keep that from happening, that's a little silly and ridiculous. A buffer lane to help people decide once they leave the sidewalk that they already have 16 feet to decide they're going to cross a intersection with a traffic light, and that now that they should maybe look both ways and make sure the light is green for them to walk. 6 feet more, so be it. But if you put a parking lane down through here, and if they don't want parking down there in that area, that's fine. Make it no parking in that particular area with the cross marks that was already discussed. That would now give them 8 feet, not just 6 feet as a buffer, which seems to make a lot more sense and makes everybody happy. There's no reason not to do that except for this bike lane. And last I knew, bicycles didn't really, we can look out there and there's maybe 2 that go by a day. So to change everybody's lifestyle up through here and their homes and their parking for maybe 2 bicycles a day, it just doesn't seem like it makes any sense. And for the center turn lane, we've never needed a center turn lane here. We don't have traffic backups. We never have. I've lived here all my life, never seen it ever happen. And even if there were talk about increased traffic, I still don't believe there would ever be a problem, because now the college wants to close a couple of streets
You've
anyway.
exceeded
So
your
what does it-
time, Terry. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have anybody else, Jesse?
Elisa Hooper, I believe.
Hi, thank you. It's actually Reynolds, Elisa Reynolds. I live at 514 East Michigan Avenue. I agree with everything that Terry Ott was just saying. I would like to continue on basically with what he was saying, that everyone on Michigan Ave, at least in my block between Huron and Oswego, are in complete agreement with Terry and with what I'm about to say, that we believe that the parking in front of our homes should not be taken away. I not only live, but I work right on Michigan Ave, right in this area that we're discussing. And I can count on one hand the amount of bicycles that I see go by in almost an entire year. There's not enough bicycles that ride up and down Michigan Ave to even consider a bike lane, unless you want to count the little kids that are usually riding with their parents while they walk on a sidewalk. And I don't believe they want their kids riding on the road. So to put a bike lane and do away with our parking is just absolutely absurd. We've contacted our councilwoman about this. We've all complained numerous times. Most of us that live in this block have absolutely no parking behind our homes. At my house, we have 2 spaces, one for my car, one for my husband's car. If we have guests, if our elderly parents stop over, there's nowhere for them to park if you take away our parking. The same goes with all of our neighbors here. So, and it would hurt Terry Ott's business as well as anything else that might be happening along this area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else, Jesse?
It does not look like we have any others at this time.
Okay. We don't have closed session, correct? Correct. Sorry. So, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar,
So moved.
which includes the June 7th session meetings, the June 12th joint study session meetings, and the assembly permit for Victory Park? I got a motion. Do I have a support? Support. City Clerk Hinde.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Maurer,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Right. On here. Motion to approve, commercial garbage license for waste management.
So moved.
Support. City Manager Snyder, do you have information on this?
I do, but I will let Attorney Hudson go ahead and.
Okay.
So just so the council's aware, this is up for approval tonight. However, this particular applicant is currently in default to the city. So at this time, while it's before you for approval, the administration is recommending that it not be approved.
Questions or comments for Cullen?
What do you mean default?
They haven't paid their taxes.
So point of information, when we vote, if we vote no, we're declining. If we vote yes, you're approving, and city administration has requested that we decline this application.
David, did you want to add anything?
Correct. No, it just that, just to reiterate that the initial background just shows that they are, owed to the city. We have reached out to them on several attempts and we have received no response and they have not resolved this matter.
Okay. Questions, comments from council? Councilman Clark?
So this has been an ongoing matter for quite some time, so would it be, not, a good idea or a good idea for whoever precinct this is to see what's going on and why, you know, they haven't been, compliant with this instead of it coming back on and we disapprove and then it coming back again, back out with what the matter is?
So this is for the commercial garbage licenses, so they probably service multiple commercial locations throughout the city. I don't know that it's located in any one particular precinct, but like the manager said, I mean, they've been notified several times to file and pay their taxes, and they just aren't being responsive.
Okay, just one.
Yeah, this, by the way, this is just the commercial license, because as the council's aware, we have Ranger servicing for residential.
Right.
City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Lanu,
No.
Williamson,
No.
Clark,
No.
Reed,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Waller,
No.
and Mayor Snyder.
No. Motion to approve the commercial license for Republic Waste.
So moved.
Support.
City Manager Snyder or Cullen, do you have comments on this?
This one is okay.
Question or comments from council? Yes, Councilwoman Lanu.
Could you speak a little bit more to what our commercial garbage license, who that services, where that service is, used?
Where it could be any commercial establishment that uses, I guess what I would refer to as a dumpster style waste receptacle. It's usually restaurants, anywhere in the industrial park, the large housing complexes, they probably all have commercial refuse removal. So basically any place that uses refuse removal that is not residential.
Thank you.
Yes,
Just so you guys know, we use Republic at the wastewater plant for dirt removal.
Thank you.
any other questions or comments from council? All right, City Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Clark, Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the mechanical amusement device license for the Red Box Automated and Leisure Hour Club.
So moved.
Support. Cullen.
Unfortunately, Redbox has also been non-compliant with their filing and tax payment requirements, and so we are recommending that the administration is recommending that this one be denied for the same reason.
So you have to do them separate.
I'm sorry, what was
So
that?
we doing leisure hour and,
No, this is located at Leisure Hour, am I correct? Or,
it's red box on the bags, so we got to do two separate rounds, two separate votes.
Um, They're both not compliant, so.
Oh, okay.
So you just type both of their, after you type both of their papers together, one from another.
Okay, got
Oh, I see, okay.
That's what she was after.
So do you need to do separate votes or is
In the same paragraph.
I probably just in the interest of being thorough, I would probably do a separate vote, one for red box and then one for leisure hour.
so for the leisure hour, they were looking at the jukebox, is that correct?
Jukebox and a food table. Oh, yeah, 2 things, it says 2 items.
Yes, the jukebox and the pool table.
Pool table,
Yeah.
okay. So that's what we're voting on, for the leisure hour, jukebox and the pool table.
And I do all the taxes.
And
They
then
do,
the red box is just obviously
one
the
on each.
DVP kiosk.
Okay, so for the leisure hour, Clark, City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Clark,
No.
Reed,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Lawler,
No.
Lanu,
No,
Williamson,
No,
and Mayor Snyder.
No. Vote for the red box that is located on Eaton Street, City Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Reed,
Wait a minute, now this is for red box,
It's located on Eaton Street.
how are they?
They're also in default.
No.
Jackson,
No.
Lawler,
No.
Lanu,
no,
Williamson,
no,
Clark,
No.
and Mayor Snyder.
No. Motion to approve the resolution to confirm Freedom of Information Act coordinator and deputy coordinators. City manager Slater.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Motion. Motion to approve.
no,
support.
All right.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, we are required to have a FOIA coordinator. Currently, our city clerk serves as our FOIA coordinator. We are looking to designate that role to our records clerk, our public safety records clerk to oversee the FOIA requests for our public safety. And then our deputy clerk, Pamela Beck, will oversee all of the FOIA requests received for City Hall and the other departments. So we're just looking to designate them in these roles.
So City Clerk Domingo was the coordinator,
Yes,
and now we're looking to have them split between two different folks, correct?
correct, yes.
Yes, City, I'm sorry, Councilman Mallard.
So you said, one duty will go to, the HR person?
Yep, our records clerk, our public safety records clerk, Risha Kendrick, she will handle all of the FOIA requests received for public safety. So she will process those, and then our deputy clerk, Pamela Beck, will oversee and handle all of the other FOIA requests that we receive at the city level.
Any other questions, comments from council? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
yes,
Williamson,
Yes,
Clark,
Yeah.
Reed,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the adult use marijuana processor and grower permits for 1009 industrial.
so moved.
Okay. Do you have support? I will support. So you have the documents in front of you. Questions? Yes, Colin?
So a couple things, just one as a reminder, the 3 applications that you have for this agenda item and the next 2 need to be turned back into the clerk after we're done with the vote. Agenda items E, F, and G, they're all the same entity. They're they're obtaining, applying for licenses at 3 different, I believe they're all contiguous with each other, and I'm getting a nod from our planning director. So they're all contiguous, but the one that's before you is just one Class C license with a processing license. The next one is just one one Class C grow, and the third one is one Class C grow and a processor. All of the applications have cleared all the department reviews, they've cleared my office review. And so the administration is recommending approval.
Ian, do you have additional comment?
Nothing in particular that Cullen summed up there well. The three parcels are owned by the same party. They form a little L between industrial and Elliott and the industrial park. They've been used for various things over the years. This is indicated that the owner is probably going to get some kind of new tenant in there. And over viewing the application, I saw an interest with the boxes that I'm checking off. It was our first ones with the new application that we just made, but they crossed their T's and dotted their I's.
And they were all approved by the planning commission last week.
Questions or comments from council? City Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Maurer,
No.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
No.
Reed,
No.
Jackson,
No.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So was that just the full vote on E through G then, Cullen?
I'm sorry?
Was that just the full vote on E through G?
No, it was just on E.
Okay, so motion to approve the adult use marijuana grow permit for 1007 industrial.
So moved.
Support. Questions, comments? Councilman Williamson.
As a reminder, each of the applications required a $5,000 fee, along with, if you look inside here, proof of their assets, proof of their business, proof that they're following the laws that we have passed in our city and in our state. It would be a disservice to cherry pick this business over any other business to say no. And so if council members are gonna vote no on law-abiding, tax-paying business entities in the city from doing the business, they should probably speak up to their objection.
And I will add that, like we said, this was approved by the planning commission. We have policies, city policy in place that they followed. And so I guess if this is gonna be problematic, we probably need to change policy and resolution. And Colin, I guess I would just ask, are we, yeah, I was gonna say, are we?
I wouldn't want to plant an idea in anyone's head, but if we've got an ordinance on the books and an applicant has complied with it and we don't grant a license, or in this case, without some sort of justification, I would expect a lawsuit.
Which will cost us money.
Also, point of information, and because of the last application that was voted down, someone who was in the no voting party will have to bring it up to make it right if we plan on making it right. So we're already heading into very troubled territory right now. I just would like everyone to know that our lawyer just mentioned legal exposure and legal action for turning down lawful entities right now within our system.
Yes, Colin.
I guess what I would say is, a couple things come to mind here. I mean, if council doesn't want to issue adult use grow or processing licenses within the city, that's absolutely fine. We can nix our ordinance and opt out. But we have that ordinance on the books, and this particular facility applied and complied with it, and it passed all the reviews. So, like I said, if we're not going to approve those entities that comply, my recommendation would be that the council nix that ordinance and not have it at all. I think the other thing that if that previous motion isn't reconsidered, my recommendation would be at a minimum, we're probably gonna have to refund their application fee. But I'm just telling you, I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm a litigation attorney. I like the courtroom. So, I mean, I have no problem fighting this battle on the city's behalf, but I would expect, given the sums of money involved here, that there will be litigation.
Well, then how do we opt out?
We would basically just have to rescind our ordinance and opt out. Just basically opt out of adult use marijuana again.
Councilman Clark.
I make a motion to rescind our, former, resolution and opt out of adult use marijuana.
So we need to deal with our motion that's on the floor first for the permit. City Clerk Domingo.
Councilmember Lanu,
What are we voting on? The motion that's currently,
The motion to approve the adult use marijuana grow permit for
Yes.
1007 industrial.
yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
No.
Reed,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Lawler,
No.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So we had a motion by Councilwoman Clark. You want to rephrase that again?
So I make a motion that we should, look at our resolution and change it from adult use marijuana and opt out of it.
So, okay, as a, I guess it's a point of information to the council, to add an agenda item, which this would be at a meeting, there must be a super majority of council to add that. So 5 members would have to vote to add that. Which certainly can, just per charter, we have to have, if we're gonna add it to the agenda, because it's after 12 p.m. on the day of the meeting.
So are you asking for that to be on this agenda or maybe like for the next?
To the next agenda.
Oh, then that's a, yeah, then that's a.
Yep, Colin.
So just knowing where these are all going here, we're probably gonna, we're gonna have to probably refund these application fees, just FYI. And I don't know that that's gonna save us from litigation, but it is what, I mean, again, I don't have a dog in this fight. I will defend the city no matter what it decides to do, but I just want to make council very aware of that.
Defend you too.
Point of information, Colin, can you share, did we pass the adult use marijuana growing processing ordinance? Because we spent a lot of time on that, multiple pages of policy.
What difference does it make?
I didn't understand what you said.
I mean, what difference would that make just to know when?
I just want to know how long the ordinance was in place and how many others of these have we approved before tonight?
We haven't approved any other adult, this would be the first adult use facilities.
But what did we, when was this passed as an ordinance?
We opted out in 2019, but I feel like we opted back in. Just let me find it here. I'm sorry. I think it was at the beginning of 20. We adopted it in 2020-05. Sorry, I'm just loading it right now. We don't have these in the info yet. Looks like we adopted this it was adopted June 15th of 20, it went into effect September 6th of 20.
Just in 2020.
2020, yes.
Okay. Motion to approve the adult use marijuana processor and grower permits for 929 Elliott.
So moved.
Support. Yes, Councilman Williamson.
When we walk out of this room tonight as council people, we will have to talk to our constituents about why we are voting down licenses that are going to bring jobs to our community. You need to speak up and say why you are objecting to this. the people have a right to know why you are objecting to lawful business in this community that brings jobs. Because when I walk out of here, I know the phone call is gonna happen. And I'm gonna have to say, well, my fellow council members just voted no and stayed silent. So put it out there, tell us why you're voting no and own it. Don't hide behind your no vote and stay quiet.
When they call you, you answer them. When they
Point
call
of
me, I'll
information,
answer.
ma'am.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So, yes, Councilman Clark.
So I'll speak up. So we've, from the recreational marijuana, most people have had a conversation and said that they weren't supportive of it. Adult use marijuana is the same language. It's just somebody growing it instead of selling it. But it's still the same language. It's not for medical reasons. It's for recreation.
Councilman Williamson.
I'd just like to point out that this is perfectly legal per the city ordinance, per the state of Michigan law. This business has paid the fee. They require a very high fee to even file the application. They are basically guaranteeing to make investment into our community to keep our industrial park full and provide jobs for our citizens. Now with a community that is more than half below the poverty level, and we complain about how trashy our community looks sometimes and how gross things look. Now we can't afford to fix things. What business is it of this council to continue to turn down lawful business who wants to hire people in this community? Please answer that question.
Yes, Councilman.
You can go all over this community and see signs wanted for hire. I mean, all over Albion, all over Bell Creek, all over Jackson, all over everywhere. There's people trying to hire people. The marijuana is keeping them from getting the job because there are some people who are saying they're not gonna hire people who can't pass marijuana tests. You know, and so therefore, they're not gonna get a job unless they're working for a marijuana place. I don't support it. I didn't support it on the planning commission. And I said, because when the guy came in and he was with the medical marijuana, I supported that. But when it came in, when he said, well, we need to have recreational marijuana supported so that we can start having the use of it and everything. I said, but you got a medical marijuana business. I supported your medical marijuana business because it supported people who needed it because of illnesses and things like that. But I don't have to support the rest and will not. So, you know, you go how you want to, I will how I want to.
Councilman Clark, do you have your hand up here?
Yeah, I just want to say from the last meeting we had, and that was a discussion that was had in there, that kind of gave me a different perspective when we spoke in the study session. What was it? Whatever it was. Anyway, when the employer spoke up and said that the guidelines were not changed, although the laws have changed, and basically we didn't see a reason to do it. So here we are in a situation that, yeah, it's not a federal law, it's a state thing. So until something is done better, I don't like how Michigan just threw us in it, didn't make any plans or anything else. And it's just, it's a mess to me. It's not being done productively. And if we can't think of other ways to get employment in this town other than bringing facilities to grow marijuana, then shame on us.
I was at an MLL meeting and back before COVID, and they were saying then it was just a mess because they hadn't did any real good planning before they did this.
All right, City Clerk Demiro. Well, I'm sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
I'm in agreement with them because it hasn't changed and I don't believe it's even going to change. Far as being able to get a job with this, and we already talked about how our society is. We do not help. We do not need to help them. Help it be worse than what it is with this marijuana. Because I continue to see as we go into different things here, it leads to something else. We did the ordinance and we agreed to those ordinance before for the medical marijuana. So then I guess we need to make sure we pick at everything and make sure what we sign is only for what we have agreed upon. And still the same thing, trying to find a job, and then if they start to hire 18 and up, we got a problem with marijuana. So I know you guys might not see that, but when I say I want our our youth and our teens to be able to be developed and have good character to do things. I believe our city can come together and find better things to bring to this city to make us more profitable.
Yeah.
And this doesn't.
And I agree, but I just think that.
But I mean, you know, Shane asked us to come behind, because you know, I'm the one that does sit here and might not say anything, okay? But I'm standing and just allowing him to know, and anyone else that asked me. I've had people call me from other townships to say, are you having this problem? What can we do? We don't agree that it was passed. What are you guys are going to do? What are you guys going to say? People are literally calling me, asking me this question. So I am standing for no marijuana here.
I understand, we just need to be very cautious, because like I said, we do have this as an
And
approved.
$5,000 is not anything to us. They gave it to us, give it back to them, very nice.
But there's probably bigger.
It might be bigger, but we can do better.
Councilman Wilson.
I'm glad to hear people speaking their position tonight, when their names are listed in the legal action that's taken along with mine, because I'm one of 7 with you. This is completely embarrassing. There has been no inkling, there has been no discussion. It's really shameful that it seems that 4 people have decided before council how they were gonna vote on this together, and then showed up at a meeting and voted no.
So let's.
Point of order for real.
All right, so we're
Well, I can only imagine.
moving forward, point of order, let's move forward. Councilman, City Manager. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will answer that. I have not talked to anybody. I am not one of the people that can be persuaded or discouraged. I make my own decisions, Shane, and you know that personally. Thank you.
City Clerk Domingo, let's move forward.
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
No.
Reed,
No.
Jackson,
No.
Waller,
No.
Lanu,
Yeah.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the assessing services contract renewal for V&V assessment.
Finance Director, leave off.
Tom, you got the floor.
Good evening, Council, Tom Mead, Finance Director. What we're bringing before you now is the assessor. If you remember, we contracted out with an assessing firm to do the assessing for the city, and historically, it's been very challenging to get an assessor here that with any longevity and stuff. Years ago, we tried to get in-house, and it quite frankly just got to the point where, because of the costs involved and having to make cuts, that we decided to try to contract it and outsource it. So we did away with full-time assessor and an assessing staff, and we outsourced it. And it's become challenging. When we first did it, we worked with the county. The county had decided to hire the assessor we had and then subcontract that out to other communities or local communities. But that program is long gone, and the last few times we've tried to find an assessor, we've had a very difficult time. I've got all the state, sent letters out asking for RFPs for, get a list from the state of all the qualified assessors, and we send letters out. Quite honestly, it's just that there's kind of a shortage of assessors in the state, and I think we fall into that category where we're large enough that we have to have kind of a higher level assessor, but we're small enough that we're not real appealing to assessing firms that want to grab big markets, I guess, and we're kind of in the middle of the state here, so it's not like we've got other, the only interest we had besides this firm last time was the assessor that contracted with Mason, and they gave us an offer or a proposal, and on the surface it looked, on a per parcel basis, it looked appealing. But the state requires or recommends, strongly recommends that you have 20% of your properties actually examined each year. And you do 20% this year, 20% next year. So in a 5-year period, hopefully you're, getting out to see all the properties. Well, they would charge a fee for doing the extra fee for the 20%. When you added that in, it put it way up over, $60,000 a year. Now with the current assessor that we have, I feel we've been very fortunate to get them. We were looking at the same time Marshall was looking, because they were also using the assessor that the county used. And like I said, the county did away with that program. And Marshall was able to get this individual to come in, and he's extremely knowledgeable. He does Oceana, the county over there, but he also does some other places over there, and he is very involved with tribunals, and his wife actually does a lot of assessing education, teaching other assessors stuff, so we have a very, big database of knowledge between the two of them. So I think we're very fortunate to get them. This particular contract is the same as the one we have. The only difference is increasing the price $300 a month, which equates, what it will be, $4,000 a month, up from $3,700. So we're looking at $48,000 a year, which is still way less than what it would cost if we had in-house or from other proposals we've had in the past. So my recommendation obviously is that we go with them. We've had very good luck with them, so.
If I can, this is a budget amendment that we'll need to.
Yep, I didn't know if you want to do it all together or something. So I've also brought, because of the increase, I've also brought council budget, proposed budget amendment. The contract is going from July to June. Of course, our fiscal year goes January to December. So we're kind of 6 months into it under the old rate. So we really only got to increase the budget for the last 6 months. So I just bumped it up 2,000. I kind of rounded it up a little higher. It really only needs to be 1,800, but I bumped it up, rounded it to 2,000. And if you do the math, I mean, that come out of fund balance, but if you do the math, $2,000 on a $1.5 million fund balance, it's like 0.1% would be the impact. So it's hardly even going to be noticeable in the fund balance. I'm sure there'll be other amendments and changes, both positive and negative, between now and the end of the year, where this will more or less be, it won't even be noticeable. So, any questions? Oh, and I did, I think I did have Attorney Harkness look at it, but I see he has a question, so maybe.
I was just gonna say, I did look at it, and it's effectively the exact same contract that the previous council approved several years ago. The only things that would modify are the dates, and as the finance director has indicated, some of the fee schedule, but other than that, it has all the requisite requirements.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Yes, but can you just tell me the dates that you changed?
I didn't change the dates, just they updated the dates as far as the effective date on the front page being July 1, 2021. And then when you look at the back, on paragraph 19, the years are updated to reflect year 1 through 3 being July 2021 to June 2024. And I believe it is also in paragraph 24, they've updated that the term of the contract is July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2024. So they've updated those to accommodate essentially the same contract, but for a new term, new 3-year term.
The only thing that really stuck out on me was the 19. The year going through that bold part, that struck me.
I'm sorry, the bold, the bold?
Yeah, the bold part on page 5, on 19, the year 1 through 3, July 2021 for the 2020 for the $4,000 per month.
Correct.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's up slightly from the prior agreement, which was 3,700 a month,
Okay,
but it's
because I heard you say you just added, you rounded some stuff off, so.
Yep, so it's an additional 300 a month, but since we're already halfway through the year, this won't take effect, of course, until July. So there'll only be 6 months remaining at the higher, at the 300.
Okay, so I did hear you correct. Okay. All right, thank you.
And then Tom, on the, overall, like, so we got the current budget amount, and then the proposed new budget amount, that number went down instead of up.
Right, because we would be taking this additional, when council approved the 2021 budget back in November, December, this extra 2,000 was not built into there. We kind of, as the assessor and I kind of agreed, this timeframe snuck up on us. We kind of both forgot that it's up for renewal already.
So this is the general fund, so that it'll decrease, but this is the budget for the assessing, so it will increase.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yes.
No, yeah.
Do we still deal with same for the rest of them?
Yeah, that's a different item. State bill, of course, does all the inspections and stuff. This contract is just for the assessing for the records.
Any other questions or comments for Tom or city manager Slater? City clerk Domingo? Oh, did we have a motion? Oh, motion. Okay, good, sorry. Motion.
Motion.
Support.
All right, city clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tom. Motion to approve, the Black Cooper Street for 4th of July fireworks.
So moved.
Support.
Councilman Reed, you have questions?
I was just asking,
We
who,
can't have some adjustments to support.
No, that's been supported.
It's been supported.
Approved and supported, yeah.
who's doing these fireworks? Because I think the other ones are out on the other side of the river.
If we received a request from Justin Harper. He is looking to, set up fireworks within this area on July 4th. The fireworks you were talking about, will occur on July 3rd. Will take place out at, the cemetery, the usual event. So he is just requesting that, we block off that area on Cooper Street so we don't have cars driving through while he sets fireworks off for the kids within that neighborhood. And so we just like to bring it before council for.
That's more like just like closing it off so he can do his own.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew, but I was just wondering who was doing it.
Justin Harper, he owns the barber shop downtown.
Yes, Councilman.
So is he gonna have anything, accessibility for water or anything like that to make sure there's no fires?
Like safeguards.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking, safeguards?
Yeah.
Yes, I imagine so, but we will confirm with him to make sure that that is in place, yeah. But we just wanted, because we haven't done this, so we're just before council to get your direction on if we would allow this or not.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So, we have this in as a caveat that he has precautions in place and possibly with what Chief said. Okay. So we do have the discussion for street hot patching. Ooh. Director Miller, you want to take this one over?
All right, so this one's gonna be pretty short and sweet.
Since the asphalt plant opened in March, the street department has thrown, I wrote this a week ago, so it's actually 135 tons of hot patch. As far as a route, excuse me. As far as a route goes, they really don't have a route that they do week to week. They kind of go on where we dig, so if we have a water sewer issue, they'll fill those. And then they go on complaints, so every week we get lots of complaints. Some of them are for potholes, so we issue those every week, and they go based on complaints. And then lastly, we just, we have 25 employees in the DPW, we drive around town a lot, we know the bad areas, we hear people talking, we get it, so we fill those areas as well. So it's really pretty simple. Yeah, that's really all I got to say.
Councilman Reed.
What do you think about the holes in front of my house?
I think
I watch you every morning when you come around that corner and you go way to the other side because there's holes there that deep.
Yeah, they're bad.
And yeah, and that's what I've been asking, and they patched twice this year. And in 2 or 3 days' time, the stuff has popped out. That's why I was asking, where was the hot patching? So it could seal those things so that that stuff keeps dropping out. And there I got that hole again. God today, every morning when you come around there, I see you, and you missed the hole. He came around and he knew to go around the holes too and ran up for that driveway to that house across the street. It's a driveway and there's a tree and there's a big stone there. Side of his car got spoiled. I know it did because I heard it as he's trying to get back on the street. And I've been complaining about those holes because about 6 of them. That whole big thing down the middle is nothing but holes this deep.
Yeah, what your road
So
needs is
how about the hot
reconstruction.
patch? Yeah, send it right on out because we've been waiting for it.
That's part of the transportation asset management plan. So the road condition goes in that. There's Paisley ratings on all the roads in town. And Chestnut is very low on the Paisley scale. So
On the what scale?
the Paisley rating, that's
Yeah.
part of the transportation asset management plan that we've talked about with Whiteman.
There was a number, was it an 8? An 8 or a 3? There was somewhere I saw it, where it was either an 8 or a 3.
I have a map in my office, we can look at it.
Well, somebody's gonna hurt themselves trying to miss those holes, because that guy today, he gonna have to get some car fixed.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Councilman Lee.
For a situation like this, what are the alternatives if the hot patch isn't working and we can't just reconstruct the street?
So really, in that particular area, what really needs to happen is we can come through and chip out all the bad stuff and kind of like an overlay. The equipment we have is not the greatest for overlays. We can do it. Our roller is quite small, and our hoppers are 3-ton hoppers, so they're not large either. So it's difficult for us to do a large overlay. That's why when you see like a cutout for a water main, it's small sections, because that's what we can do best. When we start getting to large areas, it becomes wavy. I don't know if you guys remember on Clark Street a few years back, we did a large overlay there and it was really wavy. And that's because we don't have the proper equipment.
Is that the one that the council purchased about 3 years ago,
Yeah, those are the hoppers. Yep. And the hoppers are great. They're just, they're not huge, so we can't do a large area.
How often do you all set up how you need to purchase, years you need to purchase things to work in the city? Okay, for instance, the hot patcher. You say, okay, we'll buy this year, it'll last for 3 years, and we need to start preparing so that when that 3 years is up, we're ready to get one for the next 3 years. Is that what you do?
Quite honestly, we don't really have a good depreciation schedule. So it's for the last 7 years that I've been here, it's when it breaks, we try to buy a new one. Something that I would like to do is have a depreciation schedule to know life expectancy of an item and pay for that over time.
Maybe that's something we should work on.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments on this topic? Yes, Councilman Leonard.
What would it take to implement a depreciation schedule?
Shouldn't take much, actually. I'm sure that Tom and I could come up with it together in a matter of a few weeks.
Okay. Anything else? Discussion on our tree service and equipment. We're still in the hot seat.
Yep. All right. So last time we talked about trees, I gave you guys a lot of information, how many trees we've taken down, what that's cost us, trees we got left. And over the last couple of weeks, we have, I think because I spoke on this before, we have doubled the amount of complaints. So we got trees like crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. So I kind of asked you guys for some direction. You said, let's look at a bucket truck. So I got a couple of options. I've talked to Alltech. They're the manufacturers of bucket trucks. They deal with state pricing. Two options. One's kind of like a pickup style. The price he gave me is $130,000. That has a reach of 42 feet height. It's a Ford F550 frame, so it would look like just a large pickup truck. The next option is a larger dump truck style with a chipper box. And that is a 56-foot frame or reach. I would recommend that we go with a larger truck that has the chipper dump. That will help us not take so much equipment to the job site. Right now, we don't really have a chipper box at all. The one we have is, I think it's on a 92 Scottsdale, and it's just terrible. It's falling apart. The guys repair it every time they move it. So that will save on equipment, save on people going out in the streets. And with the further reach, we can reach out to the parks, we can reach out to the cemetery, trim our own trees more. Like I mentioned before, if we have our own bucket truck, we can eliminate hiring a lot of the tree work that we do. We contract everything out. So any little trimming, any sign hanging, just anything, we have to contract it out because we don't have a platform to work off of. I really think that we could cut our tree contract in half, just with the amount of work that we can do with the bucket truck ourselves.
Does the truck also do grinding?
The truck does not do grinding. That would be a separate unit, a stump grinder, which I'd be more than happy to look at. At one time, the city did have one, many years before myself. And training, I looked at training. AIS equipment is who we normally have train us on larger equipment. They can provide a class for 8 people for $1,000. It's an 1-day class, and I will certify everybody on the operations of a bucket truck. We do take a chainsaw training class every year. I would just send the same guys through that just as a refresher, because we're going to use chainsaws a lot more. And that was free last year. The guy is pretty good about putting it on for free. It's kind of helpful for everybody to save their life. So he probably would do that again. And that is something that MIOSHA, when they came out, they hit us really hard for training. So we have worked hard in DPW to reevaluate how we do training and get back on board with a good program.
Yes, Councilwoman Mallard.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just have a question. So, when the trees are, grinded down, the trunk of it is grinded down, how are we removing that right now?
So the way that works is, we contract that stump grinding out. The way it works, Rusty will come out and take a tree out, and then the stump is put on a list. That stump will eventually get ground down when he is available to grind it. When he grinds it, that puts us on notice. We go out with our loader, we scoop out the sawdust below grade, and then we put topsoil and seed.
Oh, nice. And then that's the additional cost for when he takes the stuff.
When he grinds the stump, it's an additional cost, absolutely. And it's based on size.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, amen.
Thank you, Mayor. So you can see, these are large figures for some of the equipment that we need to purchase for our DPW. I would like to begin the budget process a lot sooner than we have in the past. So we will be working, our department heads, they will be receiving the worksheets here in the near future so that we can start planning to possibly build some of these large purchases into next year's budget. So this is very helpful, Director Miller, and as you can see, it is an extreme expense, but I think it's well overdue that we need to invest in new equipment within that department.
And one more point, they do offer a leasing program. I can get figures on that, it'll take them some time to write them out.
Any other questions or comments for our director here? Yes, Councilwoman Mooney.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I reached out to Director Miller about the leasing because I think with the demands on you and our city staff that the requirements to maintain our equipment is an added layer of work. And so if the costs are comparable, I think that would be a worthwhile investment in terms of the maintenance. I just, don't want to see anything going into disrepair again. It seems like a pattern that we have. So thank you for getting that information and the depreciation schedule.
Okay, thank you. We have a discussion on vendor fees. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson, you wanted to bring this up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Want to bring it up, and I know our councilman, Lala, she had a lot of good questions, so I thought I would bring it to you so we could put it as a discussion. I just know that we need to, need the ordinance, the city ordinance, and we have any for such thing as our fees. Because I understand that, I don't know if they're consistent, because say for instance, when we did have the chamber and they had things downtown, or the festival, they had a certain fee that they charged for people that have booths, okay? And they were food vendors. So if you had a small area or a bigger area, there was a different price for each one. Now, I keep hearing the word peddler, food peddlers. Now, I know a food peddler license wouldn't be the same as just someone standard having just a booth sitting there to sell food or just be there just to sell any type of items. So there's a lot of questions being asked of what are we doing? And then when they have certain events out in the park, per se, if it's a private event, so we say those vendors can come out there on those grounds, which belongs to us, to the city, and they can sell different things. I don't want everybody to pay anything, but I just want it to be consistent with it and it be right for everybody, because that's not what I'm hearing. Because if people are leaving us or don't want to come to some events that we're having, Juneteenth, things I overheard in the wind that some didn't want to come here or decided they want to, they get charged $20, this person get charged that, and they didn't want to be a part of what we were having. So I just think that we need to get that consistent, because utilizing all these different options that we have around here, we can move all this around through the city, and if we have some wonderful weekends here to draw people. But that's not consistent, the way I understand. And if we have something, then we all need to know about it so we can share it.
Councilman Mallard.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. So, in talking about vendor fees, and people using our parks or whatever, around the city, to have special events, it was one thing that came to mind, and I'm just trying to put it on the table. You can use it or you don't have to. But when people come to us and fill out these applications to use our park or wherever, if we could, and I don't know if that is something in there of what I'm getting ready to say, but is it something in there where we can say, okay, if you having this musical out in Victory Park, please make sure we know if you're gonna have vendors in that packet. And when they do return their package to say, okay, I'm ready to submit my application, maybe we can give them some type of wildcat call or a city logo to say that we all know, and plus our public safety know that these vendors or food trucks are okay, and they have been registered and they have paid a fee, so that, all of us aren't in the same place at all the time. But if our officers are out there and they may see someone without this sign, they can kind of distinguish, oh, they've been to see our city manager, or maybe they haven't been to see our city manager. So if we can kind of like when they do, turn in the application, we can give them something to say, hey, you better have this with you while you out there, because if you don't, you are subject to be made pack up and leave. So, it was just an idea that I thought about. I am certainly on board with, I talked to the city manager about food trucks. She said she was getting on it, so I'm gonna let her do her thing, and she can present it to us whenever she get ready.
I was gonna say, I was gonna kind of piggyback with what Mayor Pro Tem Jackson was saying. We were both at an event, and then we were hearing of some upcoming other events that we hadn't heard about. So I think the issue is gonna be as policing these activities. And I don't wanna say policing in a bad way, but just keeping track. Because like, if there is an event being held somewhere that we have no idea about, because they haven't gone through the proper channels of applying for a permit or whatever, then whoever's organizing that event is then not conveying information to people who they may be working with as regards to a vendor or somebody just setting up a table, selling stuff. So we have no idea that these type of pop-up vendors are coming to town or even here because we don't know about it. So I think there's an added layer of issues that we might have to deal with on top of, you know, saying if you're gonna be a vendor, you have to show proof that you've gone through proper channels type of thing. So yes, Councilwoman Reed.
When we planned Juneteenth, we had a committee of 7. Each one had something to do. And our ones that handled vendors, each vendor that sent in their money, they sent in their card about what they were going to be selling or doing or whatever. So we had a list, and we had their place set aside so that when they came, they were checked off. Those were the only ones that would have been there. Same thing will be happening since we had to postpone until Saturday. We have that all set out, and even with the health departments, we had 8 different units of health coming, not of health departments, but of people doing health or passing out information about health. They'll be doing the COVID shots, the blood pressure tests and all of that. But each one of those were also, we had on things, so they will be the only ones that will be allowed.
Yeah, and you have an organized type of event, and you have kind of, you have things in place.
Yeah.
But like somebody who's just creating something, you know, at a park without letting anybody else know, that's the issue that I was trying to bring up there. We, again, not saying policing is a bad thing, but how are we keeping track of who's setting up shop around here? Yes, Councilman Maurer.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. So with this vendor's fee, what came to my mind was the experience of being charged a peddler's fee when I have a food truck. So like I said, me and her already talked about it, but I'm just telling them, you know, what we talking about. So, like she said, she was gonna get, we don't have anything for a food truck.
It's being worked on.
Yeah, it's being worked on. But from my understanding, we can't charge a peddler's license for a food truck. I was told this was 2 different things. So my thing is, like I said, when they come and ask us, can they use the park or whatever, we need to put that in that packet to say, if you are having vendors, you need to let us know, and these is the rules. And when you come back, let us know how many you gonna have, and they need to have this little logo right here to say you saw our city manager. So I think what my thing was trying to distinguish food truck versus peddlers, and public property versus private property. So that's what that was to me, so.
Yes, go ahead.
Mayor, if I may, yes, we are in the process of establishing an official food truck ordinance. So that will have an official permit, fee, an application that anyone who has a food truck will have to complete. I like your suggestion. I think we can update our current applications to include all of the, proper licenses or permits that they must have if they are gonna hold an event. So I think we get a simple update that we can do. But I would like Attorney Harkness, to confirm our peddler license, that is currently the only thing that we have in place, which all of these vendors would fall under. So if you're selling anything within our community, you should apply for a peddler's license, before doing so. And as Mayor said, a big problem is we don't know about all of the events or things going on. And unless we, they approach the city, complete the proper application, pay the fee, we are unaware of that. Our fee schedule is approved by council every year with our budget. We cannot charge any fee that is not included in that fee schedule. So it's posted on our website. We have a copy here in the finance. You can request a copy from my office, clerk's office. It's out there. So we should not be charging anything that is not included on that fee schedule. If we are, that's a big issue, and I need to be made aware of that immediately.
Any other questions or comments? Awesome, all right. Future agenda items, what do we want to have to more?
Just the addition of the sale of the mower and the purchase.
But you're correct. All right, so, our added item, purchase of John Deere large area mower. Okay, call you.
Sale of John Deere large.
Sale.
Sorry. So in 2019, the city, we purchased a large area mower for $55,000. We've used this mower for 2.5 seasons. It only has 275 hours on it. A normal zero turn, we would put 750 hours per season on it. So you may say, well, the large area mower mows a lot more than a regular zero turn. True, let's say it doubles because it's 11-foot deck. That's still only 550 hours. We can't utilize this mower as we need to. It's great for large areas that are really open. You know, it does a good job. It mows well. You can fly with it. But we have too many trees, too many obstacles, rocks, fences, etc. It's just, the mower isn't what we thought it would be. So we've kind of been talking. We need more zero turns. We only have 3 in the DPW side, and we're behind on mowing. One idea we came up with is to sell this mower because we can't utilize it properly. So I procured a deal with Jackson County. They can buy it for $40,000. And then we use that money to purchase 3 new zero turns and 2 trailers. So as you see in here, there's 3 quotes for the zero turns, 2 larger ones, 6-footers, and then 1 5-footer for the cemetery. The larger one will stay at the street, and the other one will go to the parks. So then we'll have 6 in the DPW, and we can keep up on mowing. The reason I'm including trailers on this, we have 4 trailers we use now. 2 are in terrible condition. I don't know if you guys see them driving around. I want to pull them from the road, quite honestly, but we don't have anything to replace them with. So this is all state pricing. It's through my deal, and literally we will not have to pay any money to have this happen. We'll have some left over.
So we're gonna sell for $40,000, purchase 3 for $32,550.
Yep.
A trailer.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So do we need action on this from council?
Yes.
So we have a motion.
Jackson County has already approved to buy it, so we're all set on that end. Everything's good. We've sent it through the city. No bids came through, so we've covered all our bases there. We just need council approval to sell the mower, and then council approval to purchase 3 new mowers plus 2 trailers.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So
Support? Support. Any further discussion or questions? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Maurer?
Yes.
Lemieux?
Yes.
Williamson?
yes.
And Mayor Snyder?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have another item? Okay. Public comments. Oh, I'm sorry, yep, I already took that off and I was a little ahead of myself. Future agenda items. What would we like to see on the next? I got Councilmember Clark's from earlier.
Motion to, do the resolution so we can get rid of,
Resolution.
Well, it would be an ordinance, it would be an ordinance to, it would have to rescind, I think it's, I wanna say it's ordinances 22-220 through 232, and simultaneously opt out of the MRTMA.
Any other items? Okay.
We will have, Amy DePrez will be coming, I'm myself, not next meeting, the second meeting in July to provide a quarterly update on what's happened at the EDC.
July or any other future agenda items?
I had a couple, I wrote down, I love my home.
Your items for, not this one, the next one, for Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Yes, I'm going to have someone named, this called Provision. I'd like them to come to present to me.
Who is WHO?
Yeah, WHO, who, and then Vision, VIS. Yes.
Any other agenda items? All right. Jesse, do we have anybody on for public comments?
Not seeing any hands raised at this time.
So we are excusing the Councilwoman Mallard. All right, city manager's report.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. A copy of my report was included in the packet. So the first, second paragraph of the Hartwell Street project, the first progress meeting was held on Wednesday, June 9th. The project is underway and off to a good start. They're actually a little ahead of schedule when I last spoke with Director Miller and the engineer. Meeting minutes are attached for your reference. The Downtown Development Authority, or DDA, they had their regular meeting on Wednesday, June 9th. They discussed the creation of a social district, the Albion First Service Agreement, and the farmers market. The next regular DDA meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 14th, and those are at 7:30 a.m. The Albion Building Authority, or the ADA, they have their regular meeting on Thursday, June 10th. The ADA, they're looking to do a series of improvements to the Maple Grove apartments. Those are our senior facility HUD housing that we have here in town. So they have tasked me with working with Whiteman Associates to create a capital improvements plan for those projects for that building. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 9th. The Albion's Farmers Market, so the Wednesday markets, they continue to be a success. Last week, the visitor count was the highest it has been this season, with 115 visitors. They have a number of programs that they are looking to implement for the 2021 season. Some of those include featured vendors, Albion area business booth, monthly raffle baskets, the market calendar, Albion Promise, and vendor subsidy, and the vendor referral program, and the SNAP and Double Up program. If you have any questions or for more information, please visit their Albion Farmers Market Facebook page, or you can reach out to Emily Berg-Becky. She is the vice chair of our DDA. She is overseeing the farmers market. Just to remind everyone, the Parks and Recreation Community Survey is live, so we are looking for feedback from our residents on our 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So that survey is open through the end of this month. We have provided you with a few hard copies to hand out to these constituents who would be interested in that. So please encourage everyone to take the time to complete that brief survey. Just a reminder, as it's approaching, the community-wide bulk cleanup is scheduled for Saturday, June 26th from 9 to 3 at Ketchum and Harris Fields. It's hard to believe that it's already this time. Just a reminder, City Hall will be closed on Monday, July 5th in observance of the July 4th holiday. With the recent announcement of the orders being lifted, we will remain as is for a few more weeks. We've had some changes with our cleaning services, so we are looking to bring on a part-time custodian, and they will be looking, they're going to start right after the July 4th holiday. They have to give a notice to another job. So until we're able to have an actual cleaning person on staff, we will not open flowers to the public to give our staff time to do the thorough cleaning that we have been doing in absence of an official cleaning person. So once they are on board, we will return back to regular hours. With that being said, though, public meetings will return to normal. So our next meeting, public will be allowed to attend with all of the gathering restrictions lifted. A few other things, Kevin O'Brien, has been hired as the superintendent of public services. We're looking to bring him on board next Monday, June 28th. He joins us from Missoula, Montana. After 29 years of working in the DPW up there, he retired and he is looking to really relocate closer to his family here in this area. So we're very excited to bring him on. I know Director Miller is extremely excited to have that additional support. And he will oversee our parks, streets, cemetery. That's it. And I believe that is, you should have received an email from my executive assistant, Jesse Whitfield, with all of the contact info for DPW and if there's any issues after hours. So that information has been shared with council as well as posted on the city's website. And that is all I have.
Any questions for City Manager Snyder about her information? Yes, okay.
Is there any way I can piggyback on one thing?
Go ahead.
All right. So the street upgrade project, first, second, third well, and our well, they're tying in some of the new water main. Notices have been put out to residents, but there will be shut-offs and then there boil water advisory. So everyone's been noticed. I just want to make you guys aware that is going on.
Thank you for that. Councilor comments? Yes, Councilor Wilson.
There's some really exciting things happening in Albion. I just wanted to use this platform to share. You all received an email from the Community Foundation of the Bone Theater last week. Albion is being selected to be an international music festival city by Arts Midwest. And that's a national arts organization. What that means is free to our community over the next 3 years will be 6 international music and singing groups or acts being brought to this community. I'm not allowed to say from where yet. They're going to be talking about that on Friday. So Friday morning at 11 a.m., if you tune into the link that was sent to you, please share that link far and wide. We keep forwarding it as much as we can. We want as many community members on the call as possible to see the announcement of what is coming. But basically starting in 2022, we will get 2 acts, one in the fall and one in the spring. And they'll come for an entire week and they'll go to local schools, they'll work at college, they'll probably even come to city council after a meeting. And this is all supported through a grant from Arts Midwest, and the Bone is generously going to house and pay for meals for these acts that will come from all over the world. It's very, very exciting. This is Albion celebrates the festival, of course, with all our international flags every year. We talk about the international flavor that our community has, and also the music that we've built in our community over the last several years with Block the Beat, who's at the Bone, Bone Country, Bird Up at the Bone. It's very, very exciting. So please show your support if you are able to join that call at 11 a.m. to just see what's happening. There will be some Q&A available at the end, but we're very, very excited about that. And then be on the lookout for some more information as the Albion Healthcare Alliance and the Albion Community Foundation have recently partnered to begin providing immersive education experiences around COVID-19 vaccine to continue to get people vaccinated and get our numbers up in County, specifically Albion related. So there will be more information coming about that. Again, exciting news for our community. Just very, very excited that Albion is going to be recognized in the Midwest for what we do well, and that's music and entertainment and community. So keep that up.
Yes, Councilor.
The Albion 2021 Parks and Recreation Community Survey is online, and also we have it here. They're due in by June 30th, so please either go online. I think City Hall has some down here. Or if not, give me a call and I'll get you one together and get those back in so we can have them for, we'll find out about it.
The council, or the link can be found on the city's webpage. Yes, any other comments?
Yes, just as I spoke earlier about the American Rescue, that if you would just continue to just keep us updated.
Yes.
Updated on things that are going on, because we have community members asking many questions of when, how, and all those things.
Absolutely. We are anxiously impatient. Every webinar that we have attended as of lately, they always start off, we're still waiting to hear, so they're still trying to figure this out. The official rules should be released by the end of July. The requirement, we are required to have a plan in place on what to do with those funds. We have 3 years to utilize the funds that were received from that. We're waiting for the state to put in place the process for the non-entitlement units, which we are, to apply to request our funds. So once we receive that notification, we will then obviously request our funds from the state, and we will schedule a study session, town hall meetings to engage with the public on how we properly spend those funds. But I think before we need to be very strategic on how we utilize these funds, because I think it's not often that we receive such a large amount from the government to utilize, and I know we have an abundance of needs throughout our community. So I'm looking forward to engaging with our residents as well as council members to come up with a proper process on how we make the most out of those American Rescue funds. Thank you.
Yes, Councilwoman Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I just wanted to share a brief update about the Dream Build Rise program, which just began within the last couple weeks. There are 15 local entrepreneurs that are diverse by age, ethnicity, business type, experience, and the program is designed to support minority and women-owned businesses in our area. So after the 6-week program, which has begun, there will be a pitch competition, which all of us should come out and support these local businesses and hear what they're doing for our region. We can learn more about this at dreambuildrisealbion.com. And they're also on Facebook, so we can show our support and like them in the work that they're doing. They're currently looking for more fundraising so that they can continue growing this program and have more cohorts. The Workforce Task Force is also working on connecting residents with resources through a community resource navigator. This is just, recently come up, but if you have any workforce resources or other information, please let me know. Also, Councilmember Maurer and I will be doing our precinct meeting next Monday, June 28th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Caldwell School area. So hopefully, weather permitting, that will be able to go through, but we're looking forward to beginning to share information more directly with residents and hear from them as well.
Awesome. Any other comments? Colin, did you have a comment?
My dear wife is setting for her bar exam next month, so I would appreciate any fingers being crossed, prayers, candles being lit, any good vibes you can send her way. Not just for her, but for my self-preservation.
So I will say that the community is looking forward to having fireworks this year, July 3rd. We are one of the few communities in the area that is offering fireworks. So the Chamber of Commerce is organizing this and raising funds for this. They're hoping to be able to provide a spectacular show, but of course it's all very dependent on the amount of money raised. So if you have any inclination to put funds towards our fireworks, get a hold of the Chamber of Commerce. I should have brought the P.O. box.
It'll be in the e-news tomorrow morning.
Okay, so Albion e-news tomorrow morning. We'll have information on how to get funds to the chamber to help support our July 3rd fireworks. So hopefully, again, fingers crossed, good weather. And Councilwoman Reed, unfortunately, I will not be able to be to the Juneteenth celebration. I really was looking forward to this past Saturday and was heartbroken when I was sitting there watching all the rain. I do have a daughter getting married Friday, family, and so they do take precedence. All right.
12 o'clock though, Juneteenth is about.
Juneteenth, all right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So,
So okay.
Councilmember Clark. Reed.
yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Lanu.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Meeting adjourned, 9:24 p.m.
Just a reminder, I think I got everyone's here, but leave your.
That's your option.